My family had been in the fishing business for generations. From the time I was shorter than the fish we sold until now, when I finally outgrew them, it had been over a decade. Our livelihood was built on honest work, every penny earned through sweat and effort. One day, a dashing young man approached our stall. He was the kind of person you'd immediately want to ask for his contact information.
Hey there, handsome, buying some fish?
My accent betrayed my Shantou roots, and I felt even more self-conscious about my looks compared to his.
Are you planning a feast tonight?
He stared at me, seemingly lost in thought. Just then, Mrs. Smith accidentally bumped into him, causing the money in his hand to fall into the fish tank.
Are you planning to buy my entire fish tank?
The handsome guy quickly covered his face and fled, leaving behind a tank full of money.
Hey, your money.
It's okay, keep it. Well, if you insist. I chuckled as I spent quite some time fishing out the money, and in the process, I found a folded report. The text was blurry, but I could still make out the large characters. Terminal cancer.
Oh no. What have I done?
My mind quickly concocted a tragic story of this incredibly handsome guy, scattering his money around as he faced a terminal illness. And there I was, cheerfully fishing out what could be his last possessions.
I can't just leave it at that. I have to save him. I have to be his little ray of sunshine in his final days, even if my warmth won't last long.
With renewed resolve, she set out to find the young man, hoping to bring a bit of light into his life. Mia entered the kitchen where her mom was preparing lunch.
Mom, is there a handsome guy who often comes to buy fish around noon?
Are you talking about the son of the Evans family?
Mia tried to recall the details.
Short clean hair, white t-shirt, and a fresh scent.
Mia Johnson, are you daydreaming about romance?
Yes, Mia's mom was that trendy. Trendy like the tides of Chaozhou.
Does the Evans kid have any, health issues?
That I don't know. When you were little, you used to follow him around calling him Big Brother even more affectionately than you called me, your own mom.
Mrs. Johnson pouted while scrolling through videos of handsome guys on TikTok. Mia tried to recall, memories overlapping. A delicate boy's features magnified and overlapped in her mind.
Mom, where did Mr. Evans move to now?
56, Peace Street.
Mia got it.
Mom, I won't be home for dinner tonight.
She grabbed a big fat fish, swiftly tied a string through its gills, and headed to the back street. If Mia remembered correctly, that boy's name should be John Evans.
Mr. Evans, here's a fish for you.
She handed the fish to Mr. Evans.
No particular reason, just wanted to see John Evans.
When the door opened, the boy was sitting in a gaming chair playing a battle royale game. How sad, using games to distract himself from his deep longing for this world. Mia understood that feeling, just like her own condition.
John Evans.
She stood at his room door and called his name.
Are you selling fish at your house now?
He looked at the 8-pound fish she left by the door, then at her. His eyes clearly showed a strong desire for this world. What a wonderful young man.
John Evans, do you remember our childhood?
Yeah, you peed on my pants when we were kids.
That did happen, but it wasn't what Mia meant.
Why didn't you call me today?
You didn't call me either.
All right, Mia thought. Let's forgive this poor boy.
John Evans, don't worry, I'll take good care of you.
He looked puzzled, but Mia understood. Every person with an illness has a strong sense of pride. Every act of concern might feel like an injury. Mia grabbed his gaming chair and used her strength to turn him to face her.
Trust me.
She blinked her big eyes, each lash showing her determination. His eyes turned slightly red, clearly moved to the core by her words. She never expected that he was actually scared by her. After speaking, Mia pulled out some crumpled bills from her pocket, placing them in John's palm and gently closing his fingers over them.
Go sell fish for me.
I'll take you to experience a different life.
He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple moving up and down.
Me?
The next day, John appeared with Mia at the fish stall, wearing her pink Hello Kitty apron. The bright and cheerful colors seemed to warm him.
Come, I'll teach you how to catch fish.
He stood beside her, watching for a long time. Mia, shorter than him, with a round head and a round bun, grabbed a round, plump fish.
Just touch it.
Seeing that he wouldn't move, Mia softly pleaded, trying to be cute. John just smiled at her. She turned around and knocked the lively fish unconscious with a stick.
Now you can touch it, right?
He still looked at her without moving. Who said no man could resist a cute girl's plea? Mia gave up.
Can you touch it now?
Later, Mia looked at the steaming bowl of fish in front of her, watching John pick up a piece and put it in his mouth, eagerly waiting for his reaction. Suddenly, he froze and started coughing, his head tilted back.
Hurry, give me.
Mia panicked, wondering what he needed. A quick relief pill? She searched his chest and pants, feeling his firm abs. No, that's not what she was looking for. Where's his quick relief pill?
Grabbing Mia's cup of water, that was my.
Without hesitation, he gulped it down.
Never mind, not important. Picking up her phone, I'm ready to dial 911.
It's finally down.
John's face was a bit red, looking as if he had just survived a great ordeal.
Are you okay?
Mia, I had a fish bone stuck. Why were you touching me?
Mia realized what had happened and laughed awkwardly.
I was just giving you a massage to help you swallow it, haha.
Laughing awkwardly, she felt her dignity shatter.
I did it on purpose.
He must not want anyone to know about his condition, so Mia had to make some sacrifices. She bit his lip gently and sucked on it.
John, I've liked you since you wet your pants.
Finally, a crack appeared on his face. His brows lowered, lips slightly pursed, as if savoring that bite or considering what Mia had just said. His lips curled up slightly, filled with mischief.
Really? Mia Johnson?
The bustling market was filled with the chatter of people. Mia was busy at her fish stall when Mrs. Smith approached, curious about the new handsome helper.
Mia, is he your boyfriend?
Mrs. Smith, no, he's.
Mia turned her head, signaling John to explain.
Mrs. Smith, Mia and I are together.
His words were surprising, yet he looked innocent, like a sunny boy next door.
You wouldn't be taking advantage of her, right? Just not wanting to take responsibility.
Taking advantage of a quiet moment at the stall, John bent down close to Mia's ear, his breath warm and fragrant.
Responsible.
A tingling sensation ran from the roots of Mia's ears to her toes. She stood there processing his words.
I, Mia Johnson, am very responsible. Getting a boyfriend for free, how could I not be responsible? It's just, I'm not sure how long I can stay with him. Who cares, who knows?
Mia decided to embrace the moment.
John Evans, you hit the jackpot. Come with me to meet my mom.
So soon?
They arrived at Mia's home, and she called out loudly.
Mom, my boyfriend is here.
Have you lost your mind? You, a boyfriend.
Mrs. Johnson rushed out of the kitchen with a spatula, curious about Mia's antics.
John is here, sit down.
Mrs. Johnson displayed her special skill, changing faces. Now John was her son, and Mia was the family servant, serving tea, sweeping the floor, cooking meals.
In the future, your kids should take after you.
Mrs. Johnson seemed to be over the moon.
Auntie, Mia is very cute. A girl should be like Mia.
Mia suspected John might be love-struck.
I was cursing him in my heart when suddenly everything went black, and I fainted.
Mia.
Mia was used to these sudden dizzy spells, but John insisted she get checked out.
Checked for what? Taking off clothes?
John gently turned her over on the bed and gave her a playful smack.
John Evans.
She grabbed his shirt, nearly jumping off the bed. The same old trick. He liked doing this 18 years ago, too.
Look at that little head of yours, filled with nonsense.
He grabbed her wrist.
Don't mess around. I'm telling you, even though my mom likes you, I'm definitely not that easy.
John turned her hand over to check her pulse.
Play dead. Maybe I'm not meant to live in this world. Wait, checking my pulse? Doctor. He's a doctor.
She broke free from his hand.
I have a happy pulse, don't check anymore.
She turned over, back to him, not daring to look into his eyes.
Mia Johnson, do you think a kiss can make you pregnant?
He turned her back, looking closely into her eyes. His eyelashes fluttered, and she blinked, examining his magnified features.
What to do? John Evans had grown on my heart. In any case, you can't check my pulse.
She knew it would reveal the secret. The room was filled with the scent of fresh fish and spices. John Evans and Mia Johnson were catching up after years apart.
John Evans, when did you become a doctor?
She hadn't seen him for years.
I studied at Costa University abroad and transferred back this year to work.
Costa, the world's most renowned medical school. A top-notch doctor with a serious illness, saving others but unable to save himself. How painful that must be. Mia's eyes betrayed her sympathy.
Do you seem dissatisfied with my degree?
No, it's just that I think it's a pity for you to be my boyfriend. You should find someone influential, so you wouldn't have to sell fish.
And you? When did you start selling fish at home?
Probably when people praised me for being obedient, pretty, cute, and easy to tease, my mom dragged me to sell fish.
Now it was John Evans looking at her with a sympathetic gaze.
How could someone be made to sell fish just because they look obedient?
He said this while gently pinching her cheek.
Don't worry, I won't look down on you.
Don't worry, I won't either.
He didn't mind her selling fish, and she didn't mind his illness. Well, he didn't gain much. After all, she had something she was hiding from him too. A few days later, the routine fishing ban at the seaside began, so Mia's fish stall didn't need to open.
John Evans, I'm moving into your place.
Mia, that's too fast.
His words were rejecting, but she could tell from his eyes he wouldn't disagree.
No, it has to be this fast.
She acted spoiled and willful like when she was a child, and it worked. If not fast, he might not make it. She moved into the room next to his as she wished, and he just pinched the bridge of his nose. He pulled her over by the shoulder and asked what she wanted for dinner.
Spicy and sour fish.
She forgot about his stomach condition.
Never mind, let's have steamed fish instead.
In the end, he still brought out a bowl of spicy and sour fish.
John Evans, I want steamed fish.
She was unusually stubborn. John Evans couldn't help it, holding her face and looking into her eyes.
Mia Johnson.
He knew she loved spicy food, especially Chaozhou hot pot. Later, She ended up eating the entire bowl of spicy and sour fish herself, not letting him have a bite.
Years have passed, but your appetite hasn't changed.
She used to eat more than him as a child.
Being able to eat is a blessing.
He placed his hand on her head and ruffled her hair several times.
Yeah, you haven't grown taller.
He laughed heartily. Forget it. She thought, I won't argue with someone who's ill. Because of her height and appearance, people had called her a cute girl since she was young, until she pulled down someone's pants in kindergarten. Yes, that person was the one in front of her. Now, seeing him come out of the bathroom with just a towel wrapped around him, she still felt a bit shaky.
John Evans, can you not walk around like that?
Why don't you look at yourself?
She was wearing a matching camisole with her best friend. He pulled her over directly.
So, it's okay for you but not for me?
The last sound was deep and heavy, making the atmosphere ambiguous. The texture of my heart was pounding slightly.
Thoughtfully, looking at his eyes and brows, memories overlapped once again. Because of my soft appearance, I was often teased until one day, this little boy from next door protected me and said,
"Comforting, Mia, don't cry."
I was very touched, but in fact, I could have taken on all three of them with one punch. Still, I pretended to snuggle into his arms. After all, kids who know how to act cute get treats.
"Gently, Mia," he called, lowering his head into the crook of my neck. "When do you start work? I'll come help you."
Reminiscent, tomorrow.
Hospitals don't have working hours, just endless patients and never-ending bills. I sat on the chair next to him, staring blankly. I watched him gently answer each patient's questions, with sunlight streaming through the window behind him.
Reflective, what do you think it feels like to face the end? In the prime of youth, at the very beginning of life.
Sunlight and darkness simultaneously cast upon us. Unknowingly, the sunlight had shifted to the edge of the table, and my eyes were glistening.
Concerned, Mia Johnson, what's wrong?
He put down his pen and pulled me into his arms.
Softly, just feeling empathetic.
In truth, it was my way of cherishing him. The smell of disinfectant permeated the air, but his scent surrounded me.
Wistfully, John Evans, do you ever feel suddenly unwell?
He just gently kissed my forehead.
Lovingly, I'm very happy because you're here.
But when I was 16, you suddenly disappeared. When we met again, it was already too late. I felt a bit sad. He patted my back, soothing my inadvertently revealed emotions.
Concerned, Mia Johnson, are you still feeling unwell?
I felt the rush of adrenaline, the rapid whoosh, gripping his hand tightly on the roller coaster, unable to suppress my screams. By the carousel, he smiled gently.
Cheerful, everything is great now.
I hope this kind of life could continue for a long, long time.
Excited, John Evans, I'm starting school.
This time, it was John Evans' turn to be puzzled.
Confused, aren't you selling fish?
Playfully, yes, I'm studying aquaculture.
I lied to him. He ruffled my hair and laughed, giving me a playful flick on the forehead.
Teasingly, study well, don't say I ruined college students.
But that would mean not seeing you. What if no, but what if I can only treat fish? I would still study hard, just feeling a bit reluctant to part with my boyfriend whom I found by chance.
Curious, in which city?
Determined, Chengdu.
I'll fly to see you when I have time. He seemed to understand my feelings. That day we played wildly, laughed crazily, and cherished the joy immediately. At the airport, I watched his tall figure through the window. He smiled with his eyes, his tone gentle, but I was about to leave.
Determined, John Evans, don't worry. I will study hard.
There were many admirers at school, so I simply posted a picture of John Evans on my social media. He liked and saved it in one go, even posted a picture of me that went viral. Carefully looking, this beauty was wearing banana pajamas and munching on spicy fish. I became famous in his social circle, and also at school. The fish-selling goddess makes a high-profile announcement. My heart is broken. You're no longer just a little girl selling fish. I didn't care, nor did I expect John Evans to really fly thousands of kilometers to come here. On my birthday, it snowed heavily. I called him.
Excited, John Evans, it's snowing.
Disappointed, not at home.
I suddenly felt a bit lost. What to do? We were thousands of kilometers apart. I stood on the balcony, watching the snowflakes fall. Falling, chilling my fingertips, but melting. I vaguely saw the figure downstairs.
Surprised, is it a dream, John Evans?
Teasing, come down and see for yourself.
Rushing down, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, just the distance to his embrace. We danced in the falling snow, our exclusive solo performance.
Reflective, at that moment, I should have understood, it wasn't me saving him, it was our mutual redemption. If one day you eventually leave, I would find it hard to breathe.
Softly, make a wish.
I looked at the pale yellow vintage street lamp.
Hopeful, make it to this.
Blowing out the candles, the cake melted at the corners of our sticky lips. Only a single beam of light fell gently upon us. I knew that tomorrow, the school would be in chaos. But whatever.
Mia, don't get distracted. Just look at me.
That snowy night, it was just the two of us.
When did you get here?
Last night.
I walked with him by the school lake, listening to my own heartbeat.
There was no snow at home, so I came here.
John Evans' presence was truly irresistible.
Mia, being in a relationship means taking responsibility.
I know, John, I know. But I'm about to graduate. Once I graduate, I'll focus on selling fish to help you with your treatment.
Okay.
Our fingers intertwined, sharing the warmth of our palms. The snow had already stopped. I made a small snowman for John Evans to take back to Chaozhou.
Here, take this snowman with you.
I can't take it back. But I've taken some time off. I'll stay in Chongqing for a month.
Sometimes, actions speak louder than words. Deep in the mire, I was completely captivated by John Evans. The next morning, the forum was ablaze.
It's not an excuse, it's a real boyfriend. My heart is broken.
Give me back my fish-selling goddess.
Under the barrage of criticism, I finally couldn't withstand the pressure.
Hello everyone, my boyfriend did come to see me.
He unapologetically appeared as the top headline on my forum. During the days he was here, I was very happy, but my body often felt unwell. I knew I needed to go for a follow-up.
Mia, where do you feel uncomfortable?
I just stared at him, my heart in turmoil.
I'm fine, you should go back to work.
He was worried and wanted to stay, but I sent him to the airport.
I'm really fine. I just ate too much and feel a bit uncomfortable. Focus on your work.
Watching him get in the car and leave, I was about to turn around, but he grabbed my arm, pulling me into his embrace. Smelling his scent, emotions surged to my heart and eyes. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I gently kissed him in the bustling airport, then watched as his figure slowly shrank into a dot and disappeared. Back at the dormitory, it was empty, not a single person around. That day, I used 2 packs of tissues, eating spicy hot pot while crying, a bit spicy, a bit salty. The spiciness came from the hot pot, the saltiness from my tears. I couldn't eat anymore, burying my head in my knees.
Why can two people who just met possibly be separated forever in this world? John Evans, do you think of me when you're in pain? Just like I'm thinking of you now.
The night was pitch black, the rain drizzled, and the north wind howled. I packed everything before going alone to the hospital to queue with my medical report.
The condition has worsened. Follow-up intervals need to be shortened.
Like life being shortened, right?
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
I walked outside the hospital under the sycamore trees, looking at the snow that fell last night, step by step, leaving footprints. The scenery was beautiful. I cherished every breath. If only we could walk further. For a longer time, we would surely be very happy. Thinking this, familiar white sneakers suddenly touched my toes. Lifting my chin from the white scarf, it seemed like all the snowflakes were falling just for him.
Fool.
His voice was low and affectionate, making it impossible not to fall for him. Even though I was being comforted, Mia stood next to John Evans as they completed her final graduation defense, walking back home together.
John, thank you for being there with me. It meant a lot.
Of course, Mia. Anything for you.
Once home, Mia resumed helping her family sell fish. Her Trini mom had something to say about that.
Mia, stop selling fish and focus on finding a boyfriend.
Mom, I need to earn money for our treatment. John and I both need it.
With a resolute heart, Mia set her grand plan into motion to make their family market the best in town.
John, look at this market flow channel. It's going to boost our sales.
They discussed the plan, using professional terminology, even with a top cardiologist. Since they were already dealing with illness, they might as well find joy in the process.
Mia, to open up the market, we need to start with quality at the source.
And so, they boarded a fishing boat, embarking on a journey to select the best products. The blue skies, the sea, the beach, the harbor, and the sunshine were all healing.
Even if this moment is brief, I feel incredibly fortunate.
Two people reunited after a long separation, now facing the same storm, stood together on the deck. Mia's hair fluttered in the wind as she looked at John, his eyes hidden in the sunlight.
Return to the cabin. The sea is unpredictable.
Suddenly, a fierce wind howled, and rain began pounding the boat. John grabbed Mia's hand, and they ran from the deck to the cabin.
Mia, stay close.
His clothes were soaked, and they leaned against the cabin door, their breaths synchronized. But then, the boat's electrical system failed.
John, what's happening?
A crackling sound accompanied by distant thunder plunged the world into darkness. Mia clung tightly to the door, her toes trembling.
Mia.
He shielded her in the darkness. The relentless waves and torrential rain battered the deck, sounding like a herd of crazed bulls crashing down.
I listened to his heartbeat, but I couldn't help feeling terrified. Happiness seemed simple, but it was especially elusive for us.
The water was slowly seeping in. John lifted Mia to find higher ground.
John, the water's rising.
We'll make it, Mia. Hold on.
The water level rose higher and higher. Ankles, knees, waist, the boat was sinking. Time was running out.
John, are we going to?
No, Mia. We'll survive this.
As they waited for rescue, memories flashed through Mia's mind. Every second with John, from childhood to now, was precious.
John, thank you for everything.
The seawater had already submerged their heads. John found a life jacket, but there was only one.
Mia, put it on. Now.
No, John. You wear it.
With a mix of seawater and tears blurring her vision, Mia pushed herself away from him.
If it were possible, I would want you to be the one who survives.
In the midst of the storm, their bond, their courage, and their love shone brightly. The seawater swirled around Mia's nose, the salty, suffocating taste filling her nostrils. Waves crashed against her shoulders, pulling her towards the abyss. She let go, spreading her arms, allowing herself to sink into the surrounding sea.
Gasping, John, if we survive, please remember that I love you.
His grip on her shoulder tightened, and she could almost hear his response.
Mia, we will make it.
After he spoke, Mia's head grew heavy, and she collapsed into the sea. When she groggily opened her eyes, John was still beside her, but everything else had turned into a white blur.
Crying, John, are you stupid? I told you not to stay with me.
Concerned, Mia, wake up. Are you feeling better? Why are you suddenly crying?
John's face gradually came into focus, still pale, but otherwise unchanged.
John, how can you still look so good even after?
Mia shamelessly admired him for the first time, thinking, since they were already gone, why not take advantage? She even started to get a bit handsy, poking and prodding. John's smile grew, and he grabbed her wrist, pushing her down onto the bed.
Mia Johnson, you've got some nerve.
Mia flipped him over, his dark hair contrasting sharply with the white sheets.
This time, I'm on top.
He didn't speak, his eyes growing darker, his atoms apple bobbing, his whole body awakening.
Whispering, you better be serious.
When he pressed her head to his lips, Mia felt the realness of this world. Her pupils dilated, focusing, recognizing the background. It was familiar. Hospital.
Mortified, now, there's good news and bad news. The good news is we didn't die. The bad news is I'm mortified.
If she was going to be bad, she might as well go all the way.
John Evans, you're mine.
She took a bite, finding it tastier than spicy fish. John's smile widened, his hand gripping the back of her head, pressing her down. As the kiss deepened, he became exceptionally gentle, tracing shapes as if trying to completely conquer her.
Softly, Mia.
In that moment, Mia understood the heartache, the stormy night, the significance of breath after a near-death experience.
Stroking Mia's head, Mia, do you trust me?
His eyes were full of determination. If they survived a near-death experience only to face another ordeal, what should they do? Mia didn't know.
Softly, I trust you.
Even if time is short, even if days are not vibrant, having him made it worthwhile. He held her, their shadows stretching long on the white wall, like a movie just for them. Slow, quiet, the world breathed for them.
Dr. Evans, why did you study medicine?
They probed, hesitated, tried, revealing long-hidden words. He looked at her, rubbing her finger joints repeatedly.
Because of Mia Johnson.
It took Mia a long time to understand why he studied medicine, why he left the top hospital for this small town. He said it was because she fell, because she couldn't chase and hit him anymore, because she never came looking for him again. He said he wanted his little girl to be okay. That strong desire to live burned fiercely within Mia, for herself, for John Evans. She was reluctant, selfish, wanting to cherish every moment, every bit of time. This passionate love, this delicate tenderness, all bore his mark. It was clearly. John became increasingly busy, working, treating patients, studying, and attending meetings. Yet, he took even better care of me.
Mia, why don't you move into my place?
I moved into the room next to his, and every day, the meals were varied and rarely repeated. One day on the balcony, we leaned on the railing together, admiring the scattered diamonds of a summer sky.
John, don't overwork yourself.
He was also a patient. I hadn't forgotten the report that fell into the fish pond.
Mia, you're doing well.
Not bad, how about you?
He thought I was joking.
My longing for you is getting worse.
He smiled in response.
John, come with me for a checkup.
I wrapped my arms around his, looking at my own frail reflection. At the hospital, while I was getting an ECG, I had him go next door for a screening.
Mia, there's no need. I'm in good health.
He couldn't refuse me.
Just get checked. Your condition shouldn't be ignored.
I spoke seriously, pushing him towards the endoscopy room. He stopped, pausing from looking at my test results. He looked at me.
What condition?
Stomach cancer.
I decided to be honest, to tell him I had known about his health from the start. That's why I made him eat mild fish, why I didn't let him drink alcohol, why I stopped him from eating all his favorite spicy foods. I felt heartbroken, but I persisted. He didn't understand, but he always patted my head affectionately.
All right, I won't eat it. I'll leave it for you.
When I said the words stomach cancer, the wind in the hallway billowed my oversized t-shirt, making me feel even more fragile. I could barely stand. The smell of disinfectant was overwhelming, making it hard to breathe, bringing tears to my eyes, and causing a sharp pain in my heart. It felt like being pulled apart by 1,000 strings. He looked at me, wanting to hold me. But then he seemed to remember something, suddenly understanding my constant care and restrictions.
That was for a patient.
What?
The report that was lost.
The candy jar tipped over, and my emotions became a tangled mess of sweetness and bitterness, impossible to distinguish. In that moment, the thousands of strings binding my heart snapped with a loud tear. A stone fell to the bottom of my heart, only to find myself plunging into an abyss. The path had no end, filled with echoes of torment, and now I was left to walk it alone, surrounded by endless darkness, with no light in sight. Clearly, I should have been crying out loud. But instead, I felt the most joyous elation of my life. I should have been afraid, but I wasn't. When my tears fell and blossomed on my shoulder, John had once done the same, quietly letting his tears fall on my shoulder. I couldn't stop crying, but I understood these tears might not be of sorrow. My tears flowed for John, filled with so much emotion. I took a step back, looking at his brows, his nose, his jaw, and the overflowing tenderness in his eyes, the indescribable depth of his love.
How wonderful to realize that the one truly healed, saved, and surrounded by light was me. He was fine.
Embarrassment, pain, happiness, all mixed together in my confused heart, exploding. If not for this misunderstanding, I might have saved some face. But without this misunderstanding, I wouldn't have felt love and being loved so deeply. I wouldn't have longed for this world so intensely because of one person. I am a little sun, but in the dark, I also fear the darkness, and I fear the true meaning of death. Fortunately, it was just a misunderstanding. He would be fine. We stood in the hospital corridor, looking at each other. Our shadows stretched infinitely. He held me in his arms, his grip tightening, as if wanting to merge me into his body. His arms were enough to support my entire being.
Congenital heart disease, surgery, the only way to save you.
Surgery and the unknown were so close, but surgery also brought the hope of life. When I was on the operating table, entrusting my heart to John, my heartbeat belonged to him. I was grateful that he was with me through the hardest and most terrifying moment. Through the layers of surgical gowns, I could only see his eyes, his eyelashes distinct, his dark pupils filled with concern, worry, and unwavering seriousness. As the anesthesia took effect, I lost consciousness. I completely entrusted my body and soul to the one I loved most. As my blood flowed through the external circulation, and John stitched the gap in my heart stitch by stitch, I knew my pulse was destined to beat for him, my heartbeat echoing his name. If I could wake up, I knew everything would be bright. If not, it didn't matter, because if possible, I wish for you to be the one who lived. The end.